Hello everyone, and welcome back to another great day of learning with the Sun Devil Learning Lab. I am so excited to have you guys here, have you guys learning with us, and I'm so excited to see some familiar faces as well as some new ones. Hello, how are you guys? I hope you guys are doing well. For those of you who maybe do not know me, maybe you're new to the program, or maybe you just forgot my name, that's totally okay. My name is Miss Wendy. I work with the third grade ELA team alongside Miss Martinez. Miss Martinez and I will be making videos together throughout the week, videos separately. Unfortunately, this video is just going to be me, but I'm sure you will have a video of the two of us together very soon. So for those of you who maybe do not know about the Sun Devil Learning Lab, maybe you're new to the program, or maybe you just like hearing about it. I love explaining about it. The Sun Devil Learning Lab was created basically in response to the current coronavirus. Since schools are being shut down, we wanted to make sure that it did not have a negative impact on your education. So we created this for you guys so you are able to learn safely from home so that you and your families, your loved ones, whoever you stay with, so that you guys can all stay healthy and still continue your education. So I'm very excited to be back working at this. I worked at this during the school year. I did brain breaks, but now I am here teaching ELA and I'm very excited. This is such a great team to work with, a great bunch of educators. Highly recommend you check out their other videos if you have not. It's definitely a great time. And I'm just very fortunate to have all you guys here learning with me. This has been one of my favorite parts of the summer, just being able to teach with you guys. I know normally we don't have school during the summer, but it's super important that we are continuing our education during these times because we're trying to get smarter, guys. You guys are in third grade. You guys are crushing it so far. You are school experts at this point. So with that being said, let's get started on our lesson today. So our lesson today, if you guys happen to catch yesterday's lesson, we are doing the same thing. If not, if you haven't caught that lesson, I will reintroduce it to you guys. Don't worry. So basically what we are doing today is our ultimate end goal. Well, we are going to be reviewing reading comprehension strategies through asking and answering questions. But this time, instead of fiction, which we did on the previous video, we are going to be focusing on nonfiction text. So we are going to get started on our lesson right now, if it works. There we go. So our goal for the day, or our I can statement, is I can ask and answer questions about nonfiction stories, which you guys have been asking and answering questions pretty much your whole life, probably as long as you can talk. So I have no doubt that you guys are going to be absolutely amazing at this. So our schedule for the day is we are going to, just as we did in the previous video, we are going to start by reviewing what asking and answering questions are. And then we are going to dive into a very quick review on just nonfiction text, kind of what we're looking for in nonfiction text, what makes something a nonfiction text, all that kind of stuff. And then we are going to go into creating our dice game, which I'll explain more in a little bit. If you saw the previous video, you already know about it. If not, don't worry about it because I'll explain it to you. And then we are going to close out our lesson today with a read aloud. Sounds good? Feels good. Let's go on with the lesson. So, just as we did with our previous video, guys, I know you know what questions are. What are questions? Can someone please tell me? Oh, okay. Questions are something that we ask. So, did I just ask a question right there by asking what are questions? Yeah, I did for sure. Sometimes we ask so many questions that we don't even really fully know what they are. We just kind of notice, hey, I'm asking a question. So yes, we should be asking and answering questions while reading. I'm going to go over why that is so important in just a few minutes. But as we know, questions are something that we ask. They're something that we ask to gain information about the world around us. As said in a previous video, think about if a new student comes to your class. What are usually the first things that your teacher does? Your teacher usually asks them, she asks them some questions, or they ask them some questions. They say, what's your name? Where are you from? Do you have any pets? What are your mom and dad's name? All that kind of stuff. They are using those questions to gain information about the new student. So we use those questions to understand the world around us. All right, so as we all know, what are the keywords for questions? 5 of them start with the same letter, and then there's another one, that weird little one that doesn't start with the same letter. So we have who, what, when, where, why, and how. As we all know, those are the 5 W's and an H. When you see those questions at the start of a sentence without even looking for the question mark for sure confirms it. But in the back of our head, when we see those words at the beginning of a sentence, we can say, I bet what's gonna follow is a question. Some questions we can ask for. Who are you? What is your favorite thing? When is lunchtime? Where are you from? Why is that your favorite color? And how do you run so fast? Those are questions that we use using those keywords to gain information, just like I talked about earlier. So we kind of talked about this a few times earlier in previous videos. How does asking and answering questions about a text make us a better reader? So I'm gonna let you guys, if you guys want to pause the video, discuss this with a partner, feel free to. If not, I'm gonna give you guys about 5-10 seconds just to think about it, and then I'm gonna give you my opinion on it. This is an opinion question, so obviously mine is not the end-all be-all answer, but it's an answer I very strongly believe in. So go ahead, think time. So the way I look at it, how does asking and answering questions about a text make us a better reader? Like I've said earlier, I sound like a broken record, but asking and answering questions are a way for us to gain information. So we are gaining information whenever we read a book. It doesn't matter if it's fiction or nonfiction, in some capacity, we are gaining information. And being able to stop and think, wait a minute, do I fully understand what I'm reading is such an important tool, guys, especially as you get up in the upper grades. I know me, I'm in college right now, and I still have to think if I'm reading a really long passage. Sometimes I will still have to stop and think and ask myself questions to make sure I am understanding the text, because we all know how horrible it is when you get to the end of a reading and you sit there and you think, well, wait a minute, I don't understand a single thing I read. Who's been there before? I know for sure I have. So by asking and answering questions along the way, it allows us to stop and process more of what we read, sink it deeper into our brains, and so that we become super thinking students, which I know you all are. Okay, so this one, we're going to go into a little bit further detail. What is the difference between fiction and nonfiction text? Now, if you guys want to pause the video, discuss with a partner, feel free to. If not, we're gonna carry on. Guys, what is the difference between fiction and nonfiction? Who can tell me at first what fiction is? Yeah, so fiction is a made-up story. It is not a true story. This did not happen anytime. There's some sort of fiction called historical fiction that may be based on a certain time period. You know, we've all seen, medieval stories. Yes, the medieval times did happen, but those stories aren't necessarily 100% true, like, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella. Those stories did not happen, but they took place in a very real time. So it is still a fictional story because it is not a true story. So who can tell me what nonfiction stories are? Good job, guys. So a nonfiction story tells you facts and information about the world around us. I know I have read some awesome nonfiction books about dinosaurs, about things in the ocean, I really like animals, as you can tell. A lot of my nonfiction stories that I'm reading have to do with animals. But you can read, there are nonfiction stories about people, about places. Let's say you're really interested in going to Paris. I'm definitely interested in going to Paris. They have a ton of nonfiction books about where to go, what to see. interesting people that are from Paris. So there are stories that tell us facts and information about the world around us. Okay, so some things to look for in a nonfiction text. Like I said earlier, they're about something that really happened, really existed, people, places, things. They can all be nonfiction texts. They help you learn about a subject. If you check it out from the library, unfortunately I don't have any books with me, but next time you're at the library, definitely for sure go check it out. On the spine of the book, you will see there are a series of little numbers down there, and that is called the Dewey Decimal System. You can for sure ask your local librarians about it. I'm sure they will be happy to explain to you, but essentially the numbers on the little spine, they correspond to what that book is about. It's a very interesting organizational system. I know I used to know so much more about it when I was in elementary school. Unfortunately, I cannot remember some of it, but again, go to your local librarian. I'm sure they will be more than happy to explain it to you. Like I said, Dewey Decimal System is another way that you know it is a nonfiction text. And in addition to that, I know your teacher may have covered this in class. It will include certain text features such as a table of contents, index, glossary, those kind of things. The glossary is basically just a mini dictionary in the back to help you understand maybe if there are some new words that you're learning about. They help you understand what that word means. And those text features will be included in nonfiction text. Okay, so it is time for the dice game. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can get a better look at me. Hello. Jeez, why did I do that? So what you are going to need for this is you are going to need paper, pencil, or markers. If you want to be colorful, go for it. So paper, pencil / markers, and a 6-sided dice. So if you want to pause the video, go get those supplies while I make sure that I have mine in front of me. Okay, we got it right here. Perfect. So what we are going to do is we are going to make, it's a little game based on 6-sided dice. So what you are going to come up with is 6 questions for the 6 sides of dice that you are going to be able to answer about the nonfiction text. So I will show you guys mine as an example. Preface it, like I always say, I would obviously prefer if these are your own original questions that you are asking. Obviously, if you need some guidance, I'm totally fine if you use one of mine. But ideally, I would like these to be your own questions because you probably have so much more original and interesting questions than I do. Mine are fine, but I would love to hear y'all's own creativity. So I'm just gonna show you guys there we go. I'm just gonna show you guys what my dice game looks like. Let me go into, I think I went into this a little bit, what the dice game is. So say for example, as you can see, I have my beautiful little drawings of dice right here. I'm an artist, I know. What you are going to do is say, for example, if you roll a 1 on the dice, I'm going to look at this question that says, what is a heading from your book? I'm going to look through my book and I'm going to see what sort of headings are there about a nonfiction text. For example, if I was reading one about dinosaurs and they had a heading that said dinosaurs diet, then I would say, a heading from my book is dinosaurs diet, because that's something important that I'm learning about a dinosaur. So my questions that I came up with for mine are, for question number 1, what is a heading from your book? Question number 2, what are 2 new words from your book? Question number 3, what is a question you still have after reading? Number 4, what did we learn about? So what was the whole book about? Question 5, what are 2 new facts that you learned? And question number 6 is, would you read more about this topic? Why or why not? Like I said, I just always like to include at least one opinion question just because I really like to gauge my students' interest. If we read about dinosaurs and you guys are really super interested in dinosaurs, then obviously I'm going to try and get more dinosaur books in the future to keep y'all interested. So yeah, that is basically just how my dice game looks. If you guys want to pause the video for just an example of what it could look like, feel free to right now. I will duck my head behind so you don't have a picture. Okay, perfect. So now what we are going to do is we are going to move on to the read aloud portion. I'm going to be reading you guys an awesome nonfiction story about sharks, because I think sharks are awesome. And then I'm going to model how to play the dice game with you guys. And then at the conclusion of the lesson, I highly invite you guys to pair off with a partner, pair off with a group, whatever size you want, and play the dice game with them. So let me share my screen. Let me find the book that I am reading to you guys. Okay, there it is. Let's move that to the center of the screen, right there. Perfect. All right, so this book is called Oceans Alive, Sharks by Blast Off Readers. So as you guys can see here, we have our text feature, our table of contents. It's telling us things we are going to be reading in the book. We have, for example, like what are sharks, parts of a shark, how sharks hunt, etc., etc. Okay, so what are sharks? Sharks are fish. Sharks come in many shapes and sizes. The whale shark, so this big old guy over here is the whale shark. The whale shark is the biggest fish in the ocean. It is longer than a bus. The smallest sharks are the length of a pencil. So see this? You guys can probably barely see it. This tiny, 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 tiny little shark right here. That's called a dwarf shark, and that's one of the smallest sharks. Isn't that crazy, the size comparison between the two? All right, so we're on to parts of a shark. Sharks have skeletons made of a soft material called cartilage. Cartilage is light and rubbery. It lets sharks bend their bodies to swim. Interesting. Sharks have tiny scales on their skin. They look like tiny teeth. Many sharks have a pointed snout and large jaws. Sharks have fins. They use their fins to turn and stop in the water. Sharks have slits near their mouths that they use to breathe. These slits are called gills. Sharks have a fin on their back. Sometimes it pokes above the water. Here we have it, beautiful sunset looking day. And there's a little shark fin right there. Sharks have a tail. They move it from side to swim. Did you guys see, going back to that text feature right there? So this header right here is called Parts of a Shark. And what did we all read about right there? Yeah, we read about all the different parts of the sharks. So that's how they're choosing to organize this nonfiction book. So this one right here is called How Sharks Hunt. So what do you think we're gonna learn about? Probably how sharks hunt. Yeah, that'd be a pretty good guess, I'd say. Let's see. Some sharks swim fast. They catch fish and other prey. Good guess, guys. Some sharks hide on the ocean floor. They grab their prey as it swims by. How sharks eat. Some sharks have rows of pointed teeth for tearing food. Oh, that looks pretty crazy right there. Some sharks have flat teeth for crushing crabs, lobsters, and other animals with shells. I know this doesn't look like a shark right here, but that's actually a shark. Isn't that crazy? There's so many different types of sharks. Some sharks suck in water and use their filters to catch small plants and animals. Sharks are always on the move. They wander the ocean in search of food. All right, so that is the conclusion of the shark book. As you can see, just pointing out those nonfiction text features. We also have our glossary. Say, for example, if there was a word we didn't know, like honestly, I was kind of confused about cartilage. I can look here, click on cartilage, and it says it is strong, bendable material. A shark's skeleton is made out of cartilage. Interesting. We're learning facts too. And then we have our index. If there's a certain word, say we want to learn about sharks' teeth. Look, we can see on page 10, they talk about teeth. Okay, let's go to page 10. Sharks have tiny scales on their skin. They look like tiny teeth. Interesting. They brought up teeth. How perfect. All right. So we are going to, I'm going to model for you guys how I would play the dice game with that. Just like last time, I don't have any dice at my house for some reason. So I'm just going to use a little online dice that you can get on your phone. So I rolled a 2. And so I'm going to go to my little thing. Go over to question number 2. What are 2 new words from your book? So 2 new vocabulary words that I learned from the shark book. Definitely cartilage And I'm trying to think what other book. I'm reading the book right now to see. I'm going to say cartilage and gills. Even though I know what gills are, for the most part, it's always nice to have more information on what gills look like on different animals. So for my question number 2, those would be my 2 new words for my book. As I always say, your guys' questions can be way more creative than mine, but these are just some sample questions. So I'm gonna do one more practice round. Let's see what we got here. So I have a 1. So what is a heading from your book? Let's think. What headings did we read about? I know one I definitely remember is how sharks hunt. We read all about the different ways that sharks hunt for predators, hunt for prey. Sharks are predators. So they can hunt for prey by either using their teeth. Some sharks have sharp teeth in the back, and others just kind of really sneaky. And then there are some big sharks that you can't miss. But that is how sharks hunt. So that concludes our lesson. Great job, guys. So what I want you guys to do is create some awesome questions for nonfiction. If you guys need sample questions, I'm going to be including my sample one in the lesson or in the learning guide. So feel free to look at that for ideas for question. As always, you can ask your parents, guardians, loved ones, friends for any questions that they can think of, and just make it your own, guys. Like, that's half the fun with these. It's just making it your own, making it individual to you. So like I said, that concludes our lesson. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for joining us at the Sun Devil Learning Lab today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.